It's been 15 years of the Movieverse Transformers toy line, bunch of different toy lines since 2007. Can you believe it? I wanted to have a discussion in today's video between the old 2007 figures versus the new 2022 anniversary figures. I'd like to make a big shout out to my good buddy John for loaning me the 2007 figures, except for Bumblebee, of course. And obviously these 5 figures are from the 15-year multi-pack. Let's do sort of a comparison between figures both in robot mode and in alt mode, and we'll have our final thoughts. Between these two, I'm sorry, but this is still my Bumblebee. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but this new Studio Series Bumblebee just feels like a joke compared to the old massive Bumblebee figures we had back in the day, 2007, 2009. The Bumblebee figures were very solid, albeit they had a ton of kibble, and this guy is just so super accurate, especially that head sculpt. This guy just feels very, very lightweight compared to him. And you want to do a just listen to the sound of that. And in car mode, I still believe the 2007-2009 mold is still the superior mold. Even in car mode, I still like how this version of the Camaro looks more than this one. Next up is Jazz. Now I have to admit, I think the Studio Series Jazz figure is a huge improvement from the original Jazz. The original Jazz was just, it was a pain to transform. The proportions weren't as great. He just didn't look great as a figure in robot mode. And he was such a cool character in the first movie. And I think the Studio Series figure did justice to the character. And I think between the two, this one's the clear winner. I just wish they could have made him a little bit bigger. Maybe if they had used this type of engineering to maybe come up with a figure this size, maybe even a perfect figure. But then again, Hasbro and Takara told me they were going for scale, accuracy, and all that. Who knows what they know about scale? But they said this is how he scales. He's really small, so okay. But overall, I think this one is the winner. Plastic test. And in car mode, the Studio Series Jazz, I think, is still the clear winner. This one, I don't know, this just, I love the mass, I love the heft, I love the size of this thing, but it doesn't feel as accurate as this one. Even the colors, the overall design of the car mode, it just feels too narrow or too short. This one just feels right in proportion. So this one's the clear winner. On to Ratchet. Obviously he has the more accurate look. Articulation, aesthetic is so much better with this figure. But I don't know. This thing has a special place in my heart for some reason. It's a shame I had to sell this figure off. but he was the only Voyager class Ratchet we had for any Movieverse toy line. After this figure, Hasbro went small on Ratchet, and every single Ratchet release was a deluxe class figure. And to me, that's not fair for Ratchet. I think he looked much bigger than a deluxe scaled figure in the movie, and I think they got it right with the Voyager class. It's just a shame that this one was very clunky, a little bit difficult to transform, some kibble here and there. But for me, I think this Ratchet is one of the best Ratchet figures that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have ever produced. He does have accuracy, but in terms of beefiness, meatiness, and you just want a big Ratchet lugging around and going with Optimus Prime and Ironhide, this is the Ratchet that you want. So for me, between the two, this one is the winner. And do that. This figure is one of the cheapest plastic in the Studio Series line. And in alt mode, despite this one being a lot more accurate or screen accurate from the movie, I honestly believe this is the better figure, even in car mode, even in the Hummer mode. I just love the size of it. I love the details. I love the way they've sculpted this car mode. There's a lot of bits and pieces that shouldn't be there, too many kibble hanging around, but I love a big Hummer alt mode. This one feels like a Hot Wheels car. I think this is the winner for me. On to Ironhide. I have to admit, very nostalgic for me, this figure. This is, I believe, the 2007 Ironhide from the first movie was the first Transformers figure I picked up after a long hiatus from collecting Transformers. I was on my honeymoon in New York, went to Toys R Us, and I picked him up, and I was so impressed with the automorph technology. And this figure, to a great extent, was actually the one that actually jump-started my love for Transformers again and got me into collecting Transformers after years of not collecting Transformers. So yeah, very special place in my heart, the 2007 Ironhide. Now, having said that, I think the figure is still a big hot mess compared to this new one. The new Studio Series figure, I think, gives a better aesthetic, gives a better representation of Movieverse Ironhide. He's beefier, he looks like a raging bull. The guns are great, the proportions are great, the transformation is actually better. They tried to improve the transformation on this old 2007 figure. They tried to do it with the Hunt for the Decepticons figure for Revenge of the Fallen. They tried to improve the transformation, but sadly, I think the transformation was just really, really flawed with this one. The focus was on the automorph. It just didn't quite click with regard to the engineering, proper transformation, and just the fun aspect of transformation. I think this one, is a lot better. He has a little bit of a complexity to the transformation, just a little bit, but I think this is a more enjoyable figure than this figure. And between the two, I think this one is the winner. And our pencil test. And in truck mode, this one's definitely more accurate than this one, but this one just looks so pretty. It's so glossy and shiny. There's too many things going on underneath, and it was ridiculously difficult to get him into this car mode, but I don't know. Robot mode, this one's the winner, but in car mode or truck mode, I'm gonna have to go with this one. And finally, Autobot leader and commander Optimus Prime. Oh my goodness, this is a tough one. Because the new Voyager class figures from the Studio Series line, they just represent Optimus Prime so much. It's so accurate. It just takes you to the movies. I love the Voyager class figures. I mean, there's a lot of things to hate about this figure, but there's a lot of things to love about it too. In terms of aesthetic and design, this is the movie Optimus Prime. But then, when you have an Optimus Prime figure, you want a big Optimus Prime figure. You want a beefy, 12 inches of heroism and just Autobot supremacy. Optimus Prime. This is the figure for you. I mean, look at this guy. He's got rubber wheels. He's got a ton of kibble here and there. But what the old 2007 figures did for the leader class was they gave the figures lights and sounds. This toy embodies the joy of collecting these kinds of figures. It's just a fun toy. It's massive. You love to bring it around with you. It's a great display piece on your shelf. Transformation isn't as complex as the Studio Series. I mean, there was a successor to this one, the Revenge of the Fallen version, but that one was just crazy difficult to transform. But this one was not too simplistic. It was a pretty much involved transformation, but it was a lot of fun. Sure, he's not that accurate, I'll give you that, but he was big, beefy, and he was just a mighty Optimus Prime. And I can't even begin to tell you about the plastic quality back in the day. These leader class figures embodied plastic quality. I'm sorry, John, for messing up your figures, but look at this. These were solid figures compared to these lightweight plastic that we now have 15 years later. And I think my vote is gonna go with this figure. I think between the two, I still think this is the better figure. Man, the old figures, they were just something else. I think I picked this up second after Ironhide, and it just lit up a fire in me. I decided that day that I was gonna go back into collecting Transformers, and I never looked back. So, yep, this one's a clear winner for me. Finally, Optimus Prime in truck mode. I think I'm gonna go with this one. I love how it compresses. It's such a solid looking truck mode. This one has just empty spaces, gaps, and a lot of kibble going on in truck mode. It feels so incomplete. It feels like it's missing some panels, despite probably being more accurate with the front part of the cab and all that. This is definitely the clear winner for me. I mean, look how massive this thing is. Look how solid and complete the alt mode is. And you get lights and sounds to boot. Oh man, I think for me, between these two, this is the clear winner. And so some final thoughts on comparing these two, 2007 versus the 2022 Transformers Movieverse figures. Well, it's not as cut and dry as it seems. If you're a collector who's really after movie accuracy and you just normally just display your figures most of the time, then the more modern, the later versions, the Studio Series figures are for you. But if you're a collector who loves playing with your figures like I do, you love bashing them around, just transforming them. In today's standards, the old 2007 figures were just really something else. Their plastic quality was beyond what we have right now. They're very solid figures that are a lot of fun to transform. Sure, they're not as accurate as the current figures, but they're a lot of fun. And I think that's what's missing with a lot of figures nowadays and with collectors nowadays. They're just after stuff to put on their shelf. But if the figure gives you a lot of fun and joy, not just by being pretty, but because you want to play with it, you love transforming it, you love creating stories with these figures. And I think that makes a whole lot of difference, in my opinion, for collectors who've been doing this a long time. I personally think the older figures are a better toy or collectible than the current ones. The current ones are just very pretty, they're very expensive, they're nice to put on your shelf. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you feel that the 2022 figures, the current Studio Series line, far outweighs or surpasses the older 2007 figures? Let me know in the comment section, and as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.